Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, we have one very well-written article by Mark Helfman. I want to highlight this because this article was actually written a couple months ago, and the same information that was true then holds true today, and it's going to branch off into many different assets about what is going on right now and what's going to happen in the future and how the market's going to look in 2, 3, 6, 12 months from now, and how I think it's going to be for the better. So stick with me because it's going to go deep. All right, let's break into today's story. But first, let's get into the market, what's going on. So first up, Bitcoin is up 3.5%. That's awesome. I mean, you can't sneeze at that. That's nice. So Bitcoin, Ethereum is up 5-6%. Bitcoin Cash 5. Bitcoin SV 4.76, 3.24, 6.17, and 4.6. And that looks to be green above across the board. So I wonder if it had anything to do with that new stimulus package that was just passed by the U.S. government yesterday. So if you don't know, the U.S. Congress got together. They are actually able to vote on a bill, and it was actually passed. And it looks like there's going to be more relief and stimulus coming to the American businesses as well as individuals. We will see how that works out and how the government actually sets it up. So we'll see, but it's actually good news for everybody around. So that's what's going on. Let's break into today's article. So first and only up, Mark Helfman. This was actually featured on a website where he talked about Bitcoin. I just found his blog post, and it really goes deep into what's going to happen for the next Bitcoin rally and how he assumes it'll be monumental, and it mirrors my same type of information that I have, or my history that I have in my head. Now, if you haven't been around for a while, this is going to be new information, and it's going to show you where we were, where we are, and where we potentially and most likely will actually be. So let's break right in. So he talks about how everything's going a little bit crazy right now, but he talks about in the very first couple of paragraphs how the image as far as cryptocurrency is much cleaner. That's why I always say cryptocurrency and digital assets. I know a lot of YouTubers don't say that, a lot of places don't say that, but I feel like cryptocurrency is where we were, and digital assets are what we are going to be. Cryptocurrency sometimes has a connotation of a little bit negative, but a digital asset just sounds a little bit better, and I think that is the wording that a lot of different institutions, and it's a lot of words of what you're going to hear going on in the future. But this is all about image, and we know that if we can change our image, if we can look a little bit differently, a little bit more positive, people will buy into it, even though it may not have changed at all. So here's a case in point. For most of its life, Bitcoin remained a pet project of cyberpunks and computer geeks. Its biggest personalities were people like this, the BitConnect guy. I mean, how many times have you seen that guy all over the place along with Bitcoin? Then you got crazy John McAfee, who I have lost all respect for because he was the one that I remember in 2017. He was one of my first articles I read about where he said that Bitcoin is going to break into $1 million. And of course, I was new and I was star-eyed. I had no idea. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I got into it and it was fantastic. And of course, I got into it because I thought it was going to go up. Now I'm into it for a totally different reason. I believe in what it stands for, what it's going to be, not just Bitcoin, but digital assets in general. So, he started that, and then just recently came out and just said, I was just lying, I was kidding, it's a dinosaur, Bitcoin sucks, and you're all fools. And, I have no respect for anybody like that who brings people in there as a charade, or as something to do, or as to make somebody a mark. So anyhow, that's the kind of image that Bitcoin has. And now we have people like this. We've got Pompliano, Andreas Antonopoulos, and Caitlin Long. First of all, Caitlin Long, if you don't know her, she is 22-year Wall Street vet, been active in Bitcoin and blockchain since 2012. She's also 13 blockchain enabling laws in 2018-2019, so she's also a big hitter. These are the types of images we want to see. Clean, respectable people who are in our same space. Love it. Now, moving forward, the on-ramps are better. This is going to go into a little bit of history. In 2017, people had to wait weeks to open crypto accounts. And I can tell you right now, When I first opened up my Coinbase account, you could only spend up to $2,500 before you could spend anything else. And this is in 2017 when everything was going up. And I was so disappointed because I had a lot of money on the sidelines from my other businesses, and I really wanted to put it in. And you couldn't because you had to on-ramp. Bitcoin wallets had terrible design, and relatively few exchanges had legit licenses and professional operations. And it's true. I mean, you were looking at Binance and Coinbase, and the other ones, you're like, what's that? This and Mt. Gox, and I don't know what's going on. And yeah, it was very tough back in those days. Also, 22 trillion in U.S. registered investment funds had no legal way to buy Bitcoin on behalf of their clients. Murky rules and shady custodians kept them out of the markets. And just as a side note, I remember in 2017 when everything was going crazy that Binance and Coinbase were shutting it down. They were not letting people register because they couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle the new registrations. And people that actually had a couple of accounts through Binance or Coinbase, they were selling, check this out, they were selling their accounts for thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, just so you could have an account. Then they would sign it all over to you. Very risky. I would never have done that. But there was no cryptocurrency in there. It was just the account. So you could get cryptocurrency. That's how crazy it was, and that's how different times are as of now. Anyhow, it goes on to talk about now KYC, or Know Your Customer, takes 5 minutes, and we have many legit regulated exchanges, decentralized exchanges, trusts, mobile platforms, and services for people who want to move money into crypto. Large investment funds have derivatives, trading desks, and financial instruments to gain exposure to Bitcoin, or they can simply store Bitcoin with a custodian for safekeeping. And as far as institutions go, we talked about this a couple of days ago, where we took a look in depth at the Grayscale report for digital asset, just a report that they put out. Grayscale pretty much said right here, the majority, and they have 2.2 billion assets under management, and they say right here, majority of investment came from institutional investors dominated by hedge funds. So it's all around us now. Institutions are here, and they're going to play a major role, whether that be positive or negative. They are here to stay. Anyhow, but talking about derivatives and investments and trading desks and debts and different platforms, think of it this way. Right now, cryptocurrency has a market cap of 206 billion. Billion with a B. That's not much. I mean, we just saw the stimulus package. It was around 500 billion that was just passed yesterday. And correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember exactly the numbers. But that's, almost triple. I mean, 2.5 times what we have in the entire market cap for cryptocurrency. And then take a look at this. This is what is it's a document. We're talking about all the world's money and markets in one visualization. So this square right here represents 100 billion. Just keep that in mind. This little square represents 100 billion. And I forgot who gave this to me, but they updated me. This is the new one from 2017. Yeah, not too bad. And this is cryptocurrency. Look at that. Bitcoin, 100 billion. Ethereum 28 billion, the rest 45 billion. This was 2017, so pretty much the same right now. Here's your biggest companies. Here's your richest people. They all got about 100 billion. Congratulations for them. California's GDP, the Fed's balance sheet, and boy, that went up in a hurry. 3.5 trillion a couple of years ago. Now it's way ballooned past then. It's going to be over 10 trillion when it's all said and done. I can guarantee that. Currency, 7.6 trillion with a T. Gold has a nice whopping 7.7 trillion. That will also go up. I can guarantee that. Stock markets, just stocks. Japan, China, Euro, United States, rest of the world, $73 trillion in stocks, which is a shell game anyhow for most of it. And then moving forward, you have your global money supply, 36.8 trillion, 94 trillion of broad money, 8% is physical, 92% is non-physical. I just saw this, and I'm looking at this, and it makes sense. Because if you go to your bank right now and say, hey, I want to take out $100,000, your bank doesn't have it. Your bank's like, sorry, it's all digital ledger. You have to come back in 3 days while we actually transport money, physical money here so you can take it out. We don't have it. And that's the way the world's going. So when people are talking about central bank digital coins, I'm all for it because it is going this way. Moving on, global debt, 215 trillion, and I can guarantee that's going to balloon, maybe even double, I'm not for sure. Scary times. Global real estate, 217 trillion, and then this is where I thought my computer messed up. This is derivatives. 544 trillion contract basis. Just going to keep scrolling. And when I was doing this the first time, I swear to God, I thought it was just a glitch. But this is the point where they reached the low-end estimate of 544 trillion. But in actuality, it could be 1.2 quadrillion. Nobody really knows. That's the amazing thing about all this crazy money. And there's Bitcoin. Yeah. So, moving on. Vested interest and prepped and ready. Now, which is today, thousands of stores have Bitcoin ATMs. And he's just talking about how things have progressed. Bakkt and Starbucks plan to release a Bitcoin-based app. Still waiting for Starbucks to get going on that. You see crypto ads popping up everywhere, and that's very true. Even if they are scams, they're everywhere. And I'm glad that Ripple's suing YouTube because they need to stop that. Altcoins and non-Bitcoin blockchain projects have started gaining traction in users. Very true. Launched digital assets platform, and TD Ameritrade bought a stake in RSX. These are major companies. These are major corporations with a ton of assets under management, and they see the writing on the wall. Meanwhile, Bakkt, Circle Investment, which is a Goldman Sachs subsidiary, and other deep-pocketed startups have set up shop in the crypto sphere. So, yeah, Fidelity Digital Assets, 2.46 trillion assets under management. TD Ameritrade, 1 trillion assets under management. And here's Circle, where they're getting into the USD coin. Great, good for them. And then also, you can take a look at places like Van Eck, which has 49 billion assets under management. They just put out a report in January 2020, which talks about how Bitcoin is far superior than gold. So you have all these institutions here, and it's only a matter of time before this all takes off. It's just inevitable. All right. He goes on to state, once Bitcoin price goes up for a while, investors will get over their disbelief that a new bull run has started. FOMO will set in, and altcoins will pump. And I can tell you, if you weren't here in the last bull run, you have no idea what to expect. Because that FOMO will set in on all of us. That's why I talk about having a strategy, making sure you have your exit ramps, making sure you have that bull run exit strategy. I highly recommend that because I don't want you to happen what happened to me, which is where you sit back and think, it'll keep going up. It'll keep going up. Well, guess what? It's not. It can go up parabolic for only so long. And you really got 3 to 4 weeks to make your money, and you got to be out. And I go in detail with graphs and charts and everything else. So check out that video. It's in the playlist called The Essentials. I only have one playlist. Super easy to find. It's the first video on that playlist. So the question is, when moon? With all this activity, it makes everybody forget about the ICO scams, the 85% crash. And will the masses suddenly decide Bitcoin is actual usage and potential, that it's not some fake useless money? Yeah. And this is exactly what I say. Yes, because people will push that way to the side because they're not logical. People are emotional human beings. And when they see these types of gains coming about, the first thing they're going to think of, I need to get in. And if I don't get in now, I'm going to miss out. And their reptilian brain takes over and they think, oh my God, this asset, I got to get into it. Before you know it, boom, they're off and they're in the races. So again, if you don't have an exit strategy or an entry strategy too, it's going to be bad for you. So just make sure that you have everything in place. Watch the videos. All right, it's different now. It's a very powerful message, especially when it's delivered by Wall Street to millions of people, and that's pretty much it. And he goes on with some other stuff, but that was the main thing. So here's my thoughts. This all sounds fantastic, and it all sounds good, and it's going to happen at some point. The question is, when is it going to happen? With everything going on in the world, our global economy is sunk right now, and we're seeing problems. What's going to happen? It's going to happen, just don't know exactly when it is. And I can tell you this, now the stock market has actually rallied back. Oil prices actually rebounded after a couple days when they were in the negative. The Dow rises 400 points. And I can just tell you that for big businesses, it's looking positive. It's looking pretty good, especially with that new stimulus package. And we know that big businesses like to get in there and get their stimulus. So hopefully they wrote this bill a little bit easier. and big businesses can't screw us over and take all the money and do buybacks, but I haven't read the bill. So hopefully it works out. But I can tell you this, the underlying tone are the small businesses, and the small businesses are the backbone of any economy. So if you have small businesses that cannot get these loans, that cannot get the money that they need to stay open, that they cannot pay their employees, it's going to be a huge problem. So they need to get this stimulus package, need to get that to people, and it needs to actually happen ASAP. But here's the problem. All the damages that we've done, there was a great video by eToro, and they talk about this is like a car accident. Car accidents happen, it only takes you a couple seconds to look down on your phone, to check a text, and then you total your car. How long does it take to get that car back to not only operational, but to optimal? It's going to take a while, and it's going to take a while for this economy to come back. So during that time, are we going to see a huge rush as far as like cryptocurrency digital assets break up? Maybe. Maybe a lot of these institutional investors like, well, this isn't doing so hot, maybe I'm putting money over here. But I don't think that's going to be how it is. I think it's going to be a much slower process than what we've seen in the past as far as Bitcoin halvings. And this leads me to my next point. Here is the Bitcoin halvings, the last three. So I just want you to remember three dates. November 28, 2012, July 9, 2016, and May 2020. November 28th, 2012. Let's go over that one real quick. So if we can take a look back, November 28th, 2012, we are looking at around, about right here. This was the first Bitcoin halving ever. So you can see that back here, there wasn't really much action going on. But remember, it's very new. Bitcoin was only created in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto in that famous white paper. And you don't see too much action. And from here, it was $12. And it didn't really do much from here to here. Well, maybe. Actually, about 20%. 15%. But then from here, it took a while, didn't it? It took a while to start hitting steam and hitting steam and hitting steam. Now we're looking at 2 months, 3 months, about 4 months. And finally, about 4.5 months. 4 months. 4.5. Now we see an all-time high, 213.72. So it only took about then, 6 months, 5 months, something around there. 4, 5, 6, yeah. We'll say 6, I like round numbers. So, but you see there's not much really going on around the Bitcoin halving. Now let's take a peek at the next one, which was July 9th, 2016. So July 9th, 2016, what was going on with the Bitcoin price? Well, on May 23rd, it was 443. And then it kind of came up, a nice little rally. And then June 19th, it was pretty high, and then boom, big crash. So this is all June. June. And July 9th, not really much fireworks going on. Not really much. And it really didn't do too much. And then even after this, July 9th, 2016, kind of went sideways, and then a big little dip here. Then it went sideways for a while. And remember, this was the huge run-up in 2017. This was huge. So you have this just going sideways for a while, and then a little bit here, and a little bit here. And then what happened? Well, this happened. So the more you coil up and have these price actions and moving sideways and all this stuff, you will eventually hit a bigger high, a bigger all-time high. So what's happening right now? Well, I can tell you this. It's looking pretty sideways. Now, if it wasn't for the events that happened in the world on March 12th, we wouldn't see this dip. I think it would just be going straight. But even here, we're still going sideways. Not a big deal. Not too much action going on. So I see the Bitcoin halving as being pretty stable, pretty static. And then after that, pretty static again. And after the halving, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I can tell you this. If we look statistically or at the history, the date of the halving, the first one, was November 2012. The all-time high, December 2013. So it took about a year. The second halving, the date of it halving was July 2016. Then it took a year and a half on December 16, 2017 to hit the all-time high. So we go a year to a year and a half, and the third halving, we could be looking at 2 years. It could be. And that's a conservative number, and I think it's going to be $100,000. And I've done many videos on this one. I don't want to explain it again, but that's where I see it going. Now, Could it be 2 years? Maybe. Could it be a year? Maybe. Could it be 6 months? Maybe. I do know this, it's going to go up. With all the institutions there, with all the people that have heard about it, with all the different railways that have done, there's only one way to go, and that's up. And it's not just Bitcoin. It's all cryptocurrencies, whatever you believe in. Remember, don't be a tribalist. Just support everybody as best you can, because what's good for one is good for all. And when the water rushes into the harbor, all the ships rise. So I don't care what goes up. I don't care if it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or Tomato Coin or Tron, I don't care. As long as it goes up, because that'll push cryptocurrency digital assets into the forefront of people's thoughts. And that's it. So look, that's today's videos. I want to say thanks for sticking with me through all the rants. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so if you like those types of videos, there's going to be 2 more that's going to come up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the bull run basics on one of them. The other one will just be YouTube Picks It. And that's it. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.